We want to know. Welcome to Walnut's Book Fair. We're really excited to have you here, and we can't wait for what the parent-teacher conferences are going to bring. What I want to do here is I want to be able to show you some of the books that you might be interested in reading for the book fair. And I think we'll start with the one that I think is probably the most popular. And that is probably this one right here, being The Haunting of Sunshine Girl. Now, apparently, I didn't know this, but apparently this started out as a bunch of YouTube videos. And the story goes is that the girl, she moves into this new house, and it's kind of this really creepy sort of house. And then as she's going there, she notices all these really weird things that start happening. And so she thinks, hey, the house is haunted. Well, her mother doesn't quite believe her, and she's still not quite sure about, is it? Is it not? And so she decides to document what happens in her house. So she starts taking pictures, she starts taking video, all to kind of convince her mom that these things are really happening. But since her mom doesn't believe her, she goes and she tells somebody else, and this is her friend at school, who happens to be this super hot, cute boy, right? And so he believes her, and so they are trying to figure out what's going on. They get connected with somebody who knows about the supernatural, and then it just goes with them trying to figure out what's happening at this house. And I think what's different about this book than maybe some of the other haunting, kind of scary horror books, is that the main character here, is, they call it Sunshine Girl because she's always happy. She's always bouncy. Even though there's all these crazy dark things happening around her, she's really excited and happy. Sometimes you read those horror books and everybody's so like, oh, right? Oh, this is so terrible. This is the worst thing ever. So again, The Haunting of the Sunshine Girl. And it'd be really interesting to go onto YouTube and see if they have any of those videos that they're showing. But even if you haven't seen those, you would still, if you like those, I can't handle the books. I had one of my students showed me the one of the videos online, and I couldn't even get through the first little bit because I'm like, I want to go to sleep tonight. So, The Haunting of Sunshine Girl by Paige Mackenzie. Look for it at the book fair. Another one that I know that we have a bunch of students excited about is the next Amulet book. Now, we do plan on getting this in the library. We want to have a whole bunch of these, but we don't have them yet. So I don't know exactly when they're going to be coming in, but it's just barely released. It's just like a month old. This is Amulet Book 7 called Firelight. And so if you know anything about the Amulet series, right, it's about this girl who finds this amulet and then gets transported to this other world. And so then she's kind of got to figure out things there, and there's this prophecy that talks about what she's able to do, and she uses this amulet and her magic powers to try to stop the evil elf king from taking over everything. So, Amulet, if you like adventure, if you like graphic novels, this would be a fantastic choice for you if you've read the rest of the series. We have the other books in the Media Center if you want to get caught up, or if you've heard of people talking about it. Okay, now for something we'll stick with graphic novels. I read this book and I cried. Not that the book is sad, because the book is not super sad, but it's about this little girl and how she's trying to figure out things in her life. And it's probably because I have 4 little girls at home that I cried. So it's this little girl named Astrid, and she goes and she sees this roller derby bout. So it's all these people doing roller derby, and they're rolling around on roller skates, and they're hitting each other, and they're knocking each other down. And she's all like, oh my goodness, I want to do that. That is what I want to do with the rest of my life. But her friend is not so excited. Her friend wants to go to ballet dance camp. So this is kind of the story about her, losing, maybe kind of getting disconnected from one friend, but then kind of meets another friend and kind of trying to pursue her dreams. If you like the graphic novels like Smile and Drama and Sisters, you would really, really like this book. It's written in much the same way, and she's got to deal with some of the same sort of problems. Even though it's about roller derby, it's got that same sort of feel, and it's a graphic novel. So if you like those ones, roller derby would be an absolute great choice for you. We have our very own roller derby staff member, Maestra Mall. She does roller derby. So if you need to talk to Miss Moyers, and she will fill you in all about how roller derby is the bomb. Okay, some ones that may be a little bit different. No Summit Out of Sight by Jordan Romero. This book is about the youngest kid to scale the 7 summits. Now, I don't remember all the 7 summits, but we're talking, oh, they're right back here. Kilimanjaro, Kosciuszko, Elbrus, Aconcagua, Denali, Carstensis, Pyramid, Everest, and Vinson. Those are the tallest mountains in the world. And he's been to all of them and climbed all of them. He was even caught in an avalanche. He's had frostbite and hypothermia and mountain sickness. So this is kind of the story about him overcoming his fears and conquering his weaknesses, and then being able to scale these mountains at a very, very young age. So if you like kind of more true stories and, again, just a kid dealing with problems and has a big dream and is trying to accomplish it, you might like No Summit Out of Sight. So, No Summit Out of Sight. Here's one that I'm personally really excited about. I have not read this one yet, but this one, The Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. This one sounds pretty cool. If you like fantasy, dystopia, science fiction-y kind of books, this is going to be the book for you. So society has divided into 2 different sections. You have the silvers and you have the reds, and it's all based off of the color of your blood. So the silvers, these people who have silver blood, they have these amazing superpowers, like telekinesis, moving things with your mind, mind control, super strength, all these kind of things. Whereas the people who have red bloods, they would be more of like what we would see ourselves as, just regular people. And they are kind of the slaves to the silvers. The silvers have all this like fancy stuff and all these riches, and the reds are kind of the slaves. So there's this kind of rebellion going on. The reds are... but so in comes this girl, Mare. She has red blood, but she has the power of a silver. So the silvers get wind of this, and they set her up as this silver princess, even though she has red blood. But then the real question is, why do they set her up like that? And what does this mean for the Red Rebellion? Are they going to be able to get her to work for them? And who's pulling the strings? And does she even have a choice to do her own thing? Does she have a will? Is she going to be able to choose that? So again, pretty exciting if you like that dystopian fantasy kind of story. The Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. So that's the one I'm personally really excited to read, because that is kind of my shtick. That's my mojo. A couple other ones for those of you who are big fans of Percy Jackson. The next book is out, and if you remember, we kind of have 2 different series of books for Percy Jackson. We have the original Percy Jackson series, and then we have the Heroes of Olympus, Percy Jackson, and this is going to be the next series of that chapter. And you know it's going to be good because it's Rick Riordan who writes it. Yeah, he's fabulous, fabulous author. But I think you also know it's going to be good because he's writing it in that same world with the Greek gods and the demigods. You've got that whole kind of counterplay in there between the two. Anything written in that world seems like it's going to be really, really interesting. And I think This just introduces a new character, Magnus Chase. So if you like Rick Riordan and you're looking for that new book, you can come and pick this up at your Walnut Book Fair, Magnus Chase. So it's called The Sword of Summer. We had The Blood of Olympus, which is the last book in the Olympus series. We have a couple of the Hunger Games books. We don't have the first one, but we've got the second and the third one. And where was that other one? We've got a couple other, if you're just totally into the Hunger Games, things for you. Here we have the tribute guide, right, where this is going to go through all the different tributes and talk about each one and where they're from and kind of give some statistics on them. And so for all of you Hunger Game just fanatics out there, we've got some stuff for you. And this one, this is the world of the Hunger Games. So kind of talking about Panem, again, kind of going along with the movie. Again, just more information about the different places and people and things that are associated with the Hunger Games. So if you've read all three of the Hunger Games and you're looking for something just a little bit more, we've got these down at the Walnut Book Fair. Come check them out. So there is Hunger Games. I think we need something a little bit more. Something a little bit more real. The new Gamers edition for World Records is out. I know in the library. I would just like to point out for all those of you who are in where is it? 80. Oh, not quite there. Almost there. Almost there. For all those who heard of the League of Legends Club, right? It's got 2 full pages and a couple other mentions. It's just huge. So if you're really into computer games and you like records and other things that have to do with video games, this is going to be your guide to that. We also have, speaking of gaming guides, we also have the Minecraft series here of books. They've been updated. Does it say which one? This one's the updated version to kind of go with the updated the game. As the game updates, they'll update a few of these. So one on combat, one on construction, and then just your generic essentials handbook. We've got those. We've got a couple of these. I'm just going to show you one of them. But for those of you who can't handle your game as it is normally, we've got these cheat code books where they've got a whole bunch of different tips and tricks and different codes that you can put in, and they kind of flip around. You got some for a bunch of different consoles and some handheld games there. So again, those of you who are gamers and you just can't beat that next level, more gaming one, but I'm not seeing it. We have the regular so I showed you the world records for gaming, but we also have the standard world records books. I know this is 2015, so it's just the one from last year. We also have the Ripley's Believe It or Not for 2016. I don't know if you can see the. Ooh, that actually looks kind of cool. It's got a 3D cover like they normally do. And again, just like all those Ripley Believe It or Nots, chock full of great pictures and great things that are just absolutely crazy. Mr. Westling, you want to come in here and show us a great book that you like to read from the fair? All right, why don't you try to find one, and I'll keep going. Oh, thank you. Oh, okay. Thanks. We've also got some character things here for Legos and Star Wars. They've got a few of the when you buy them, they've got the one character that you have, and then it's chock full of all the different things that you can buy with that. We are chocked full of graphic novels. We've got a whole bunch of them. We got a couple that are more like the manga style. If you like those Japanese style, they go the back. Naruto, The Earl and the Fairy. So if you're interested in checking out any of those ones, we've got those, but we also have some normal ones for those of you who just can't stand your books going backwards. We got a couple really good ones. This is The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. There we go. Can you hear me now? This is a graphic novel adaptation of his book. So, and the book is like 900, 1,100 pages long. And this, you can see, this is just a small graphic novel, but it really kind of covers the story pretty good. Did you find one?
This is one I have not read yet, but I've been very interested in.
Ooh, yes, yes, excellent. The Seventh Son by Joseph Delaney. Now, this one seems like it's absolutely huge, and you're like, oh my goodness, I could never read that whole thing. But this is actually the first two books put together in one. Now, they call it The Seventh Son because that's what they. But if you watch the movie and you're like, oh, okay, this will be really good, prepare for it to be completely different. They really changed kind of how the story flowed. His mom doesn't die, but she apparently dies in the first movie, but she doesn't die in the book. And so it's just some crazy things like that. But awesome story about the spook who's put his whole life on the line to fight against the creatures of the dark and to help people who are doing that. And then his apprentice. This is kind of the last apprentice that he has time to train before the end of his life. But all the other apprentices that he's ever trained have died because they either can't hack it, or because they made a mistake, or because they weren't paying attention to what they were doing. And so this is kind of his last shot to train him. And he's the seventh son of his seventh son, but he also has a little something special from his mom that you don't learn about until just a little bit later. So excellent choice, Mr. Wisling. Excellent choice. That is amazing, and it's on sale too for $5. That is not. See, this one. Most of our graphic novels are like $7 to $10. $1.99. So fabulous deal there. If you like epic fantasy. Do you like epic fantasy?
I do.
Okay. Mr. Wrestling likes epic fantasy. Something maybe a little bit more toned down, Sunny Side Up. This would be more along the lines of Smile and and drama. Summer vacation. Got to deal with a whole bunch of problems. And here, this one's Vamplets, where she gets teleported to a new world to babysit some vampire babies. And my favorite part is that the vampires, it shows how they have babies. I don't know if you can see this, but he gets close to her and he's all like, I love you. And as soon as he says I love you, the baby just pops out. Bing! And so they don't know where the babies are coming from. They've got all these babies and they've got to handle it. We've got a bunch of students who are passing, so I'm going to go look for a couple more books to show you while we've got some students walking by. So stay.
Quiz ball stuff today?
Did I what?
Did you need me for that? Are you guys doing something for school today?
Oh, no. We were going to, but we can't because of parent-teacher conferences, because we're rolling just right into that. We were planning it for next week, though.
Next week, yeah, perfect.
Okay. You would really like that book, Mr. Wrestling. That book is really good.
If I had $5, I mean, I would do it right.
Well, we have it in the media center too. So if you want to get it there, it's pretty good. I don't know if we have the Seventh Son, but we have the first book, which is called The Last Apprentice by Joseph Delaney, and it's a great blend of that like horror, but it's also really humorous. So like it's not like there's stuff in it, but it's not like the slasher horror.
Yeah.
It's more of like interesting adventure horror. So yeah. Just winding down. Ooh, there's a good one. Oh, I almost forgot this one. How could I forget that one? There's too many good. Oh, and this one. Oh. Okay. Past here. So let me carry on here. All right. So when I think about nonfiction, so these are things that are real, either real events or real people. Sometimes I'm really into that, and sometimes I'm really not. I mean, I want a story. I want adventure, and a lot of times that nonfiction just doesn't have exactly what I'm thinking. It's just got a bunch of information. That's great, but not for my reading time. Now, when I picked up this book, however, this book was absolutely amazing. So this book is about the makings of the atomic bomb. This would be World War II. And this was a super, super secret project. It kind of starts on here when the scientists are first getting together and they're first coming up with this idea of, hey, we can split the atom and release all this energy in this huge, wait, maybe we could turn this into a weapon. So it wasn't until so people were like, okay, whatever. That sounds so fanciful, right? This huge weapon that can just be huge, exploding. That can't happen. It wasn't until Albert Einstein made an appointment with the president, and he said, okay, look, this is what's going to happen. This is what our counterparts in Germany and other places have been talking about. We think they're building a weapon. And the president was like, oh, okay, well, maybe we should be building one too. So that's when he starts getting some people together and starts creating this task force to create this weapon, coming up with some of the most brilliant minds of the century to get them together to work on this problem of creating the atomic bomb. Now with that, at the beginning of each chapter, or is it almost the beginning of each chapter, they talk about all the different spies. There were so many spies. Now, a lot of these spies have nothing to do with the project. They're trying to get hooked up with somebody to kind of steal information and just talk to them about it. But you would be amazed at how many spies they actually got onto the project. And these spies, they were all Russian spies. And pretty much we are the reason the Russians have the atomic, they got the atomic bomb, is they just stole it from the things that we were developing. So that part is absolutely fascinating, but it really follows closely some of the scientists that are involved in here, and one of them in here, the guy is just so funny. He is completely and totally scatterbrained. I'm trying to think about which one it was. What was his name again? Looking for it. Talking about Einstein. Where was it? So was it there? Well, this one scientist, he is there we go, Oppenheimer. That's who. He was absolutely and completely brilliant. He probably wasn't the most brilliant scientist who was involved, but he was the one that could bring people together. He was the story they tell about Oppenheimer that it just totally blows my mind. So he's totally into science and he's thinking about this. And so he goes out on a date with this girl, which isn't totally remarkable, right? He goes out on this date. And so they drive out and they go drive and they park on this hill overlooking this beautiful scenery. And so he kind of gets up and he's all like, do you mind if I go take a walk for a bit? And she's all like, oh, no big deal. And so he gets out of the car and he goes walking. And he starts thinking and thinking and thinking, and he starts getting this great idea. And he just walks home. He just walks home. He totally forgot. He totally forgot that he was on a date with this girl. He walks home. He left the car out there. He left the girl out there. Completely, totally spaced. It almost reminds me kind of myself. It just completely scatterbrained. And so she wakes up in the middle of the night. She's like freezing cold. And then she wakes up and he's like, he's dead. He's dead. He's been killed. And so she calls the police and they start searching all over for him. And they don't find him until the morning. They bust into his house and he's there sipping on his coffee. And he's like, hey guys, what's up? And they're like, what? Where have you been? And he's all like, oh yeah, I was on a date. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. So it just has some really great stories. If you like spies, if you like intrigue, if you like any of that kind of things, plus talk about the biggest explosions the world had ever seen, Bomb would be an absolutely fabulous choice for you. Did you need something, Miss Guys? We're streaming right now.
Ignore my email. There's no bad video.
Okay, you got it. You got it. Do you want to come show us a book that you would want to get? Oh, all right. Fine. So everybody, just know that Miss Geist decided not to show you a book. That was her choice. I offered. She said no. I know, and that's fine. Okay, moving on to the next book. Yeah. Go ahead. This is Wickedpedia. You know, we've all heard about Wikipedia, but this is Wickedpedia. Now, this story is kind of a cool story because, you know, Wikipedia, right? Anybody can make an account with them. Anybody can edit any pages. And so we've got these Cole and Gavin, right? They're getting on. They love to prank people. They're like, let me go change the information there so that when she gets her information, it's going to be totally bogus. And then they kind of kick it up a notch when they're trying to get back at their kind of school bully, and they make a Wikipedia page for him, and they have all this bogus information, and they end with kind of him dying. So that's kind of probably distasteful, but really things don't get started until he actually does die in the way that they wrote about on the Wikipedia page. So that totally freaks them out, right? They're just, no. So they're all freaked out about it. So they're like, okay, stop. No more Wikipedia editing. Well, somebody else now is getting on, and they're starting to edit pages. And they start editing other people's pages, and people start dying. Things start getting really real when his crush is the next person who's been written about on how they're going to die. So he's got to figure out how to solve who's doing this and why they're doing this and how they're doing this in order to save this girl that he really, really likes. So if you like those really creepy stories that make you stay awake at night, which I don't do those kind of stories, but I know many of you do, Wickedpedia. Look for it at your Walnut Book Fair. All right, ladies, did you want to highlight one? No? Did you want to do one, Lizette?
I want you to do it.
Wait, you want me to do it? Okay, which one?
I don't know.
I've already okay. Yeah, it's about 30 seconds behind or so. Okay. Next one. I don't even know this one at all, so I'm going to be kind of reading the back for it. This is for Lizette. Just for Lizette. I'm dedicating this book talk to Lizette. Okay. This is The Cuckoo Song by Frances Hardinge. And you can tell by the front cover exactly what kind of book this is going to be. Okay, so I'm going to read the back to you here, and we'll see what kind we can come up with. Following a mysterious accident that left her sopping wet, Triss awakens to a world that's eerily off-kilter. Her memories are muddled. Her sister despises her. Pages have been stolen from her private journal, and her appetite is insatiable. Hear things she shouldn't. Her dolls reveal themselves to be deceitful living creatures. Oh my goodness. You want to read this?
Yeah.
Okay. She's suddenly and inexplicably afraid of scissors. All of a sudden now, I think I'm going to get rid of all the scissors in my house. And when she brushes her hair, out sprinkle crumbled fragments of leaves. Okay, that's confusing. I don't know what's going on with that. Then she stumbles across evidence that her beloved brother, killed in the war, is actually alive, and she begins to suspect that the secrets lurking within her home are even more shocking than her twisted new reality. Is Triss going mad, or did her accident trigger a nightmarish chain of events? In her quest to learn the truth, Triss ventures from her shelter of her parents' protective wings into the city's underbelly. There she encounters strange creatures whose grand schemes could forever alter the fates of her family. From master storyteller Frances Hardinge comes the unnerving tale of one girl's struggle to confront her darkest fears in order to triumph over a world where nothing is certain. Well, we let Lizeth read this book. I don't know. That sounds. Can you imagine your dolls are like, Mama, Mama. Oh, yeah. Yes. That whole idea of not knowing if you're crazy or not, like you're like, am I crazy or am I not crazy? That's a terrifying aspect. Thinking that the things that are happening around you are not actually happening, but it's something else. Okay, so those of you who like really creepy, scary dolls alive coming after you kind of stuff, that maybe this one's for you, but I think I'm going to put this one down. On to something maybe more exciting. We're back to graphic novels here. What'd you need?
I wanted to download Open.
Oh, download OSU? All right, go ahead and get logged in, and I can help you here in just a second. We'll have Lizeth take over for talking about books. How about that? Okay, this is Ladder Top by Orson Scott Card. Orson Scott Card is the guy who wrote Ender's Game. So if you like that, you really like this one. But this is kind of a really cool story. Aliens have come and they've given us these ladder tops. There are these huge solar collecting arrays. Any country that has one of these in them, they are super powerful and super wealthy because they have all of this free energy. But in order to keep them running, they need these children to go up and kind of clean out the tubes. And so it's about these two girls who are training. One of them doesn't. But it really doesn't start to get. I mean, it's really good. It's really good. But at the end, you learn about. Let's see if I can find it here. So she's been having these kind of dreams, and she finds this. Up here in the ladder top. There's this like sword kind of shaped thing, and it says "Do not touch," and she's been kind of like drawn to this. She's like, I want to touch it. I want to touch it. And so it makes you wonder what's happening with that. Okay, we've got students who are coming by in the hallway. We're going to take. Yeah. Oh. Battery's dead. Oh. 1, 2. Ha! Yes. With a vengeance. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So, we are back. We are talking about a couple of books we have at the book fair that I just absolutely love. Now, a couple of these I've read before. A couple of these I haven't read before. This is one, Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson. This is probably my favorite author, my absolutely favorite author. And this has a premise. So Brandon Sanderson, he got this idea when he was driving. He was driving to Chicago, and he was talking about how he hated trying to find, he was getting lost, and then he was late to his event, and then somebody cut him off, and he's like, why you? If I just had laser beams like Superman, I would. And then he was like, wait a second, Superman would never do that. He's a superhero. And then he started thinking, wait, if I had superpowers, what would I do with them? So he came up across this really interesting idea, which is the superpowers are called epics, and they're all evil. They all do terrible, horrible things, all looking for power and money and just things for themselves. The United States government, they tried to control them for a while, but when they realized that they couldn't, they just said, okay, if the epic does something, that's not our responsibility. It just happens. Insurance isn't going to cover it, which is what happened to our main character's family. An epic destroys their house, ends up killing his mom. They're trying to get an extension on the mortgage of their house, and it's not working. It's overdue, so they can't get anything. And while they're there, they get attacked by this epic called Death Point, and he starts just zapping people and reducing them to piles of bones and ash. And if that wasn't bad enough, Steelheart shows up, which is one our book is about. He's basically invincible because any Death Point's pointing at all these people, and they're just turning into ash. And he points at Steelheart. He's like, "Ha!" And he just goes, and he's like, "What's up? You can't touch this." So then he ends up destroying the whole bank and killing all the people, and then these soldiers come in with all the rockets, and they can't do anything. So this book is about this boy who he's seen Steelheart bleed. There was an event that happened at that bank. I won't tell you what it is, but which is impossible, right? He's basically invincible, and something at the bank made him bleed. Every of these epics, they have a weakness. And so something about him being at that bank is a weakness. So he's trying to join this group of people that are trying to assassinate these invincible epics. So that's kind of a cool idea. So you've got to try to find out what their weakness is, and then you're trying to kill these horrible, evil, super beings without being killed yourself. So a fantastic story. We've got Steelheart, and we have the sequel called Firefight. And the next one is due to come out just this month, Calamity, which is going to be awesome. We plan on getting that for our media center. But if you can't wait for that, you can come pick it up at the Walnut Book Fair. All right, moving from kind of fantasy adventure to something a little bit more real. Counting by Sevens. This book was absolutely hilarious. Now, it's not like slapstick funny, like the Three Stooges or something where people get slapped and they fall all over. Not that kind of funny. But just the situations that happen in this book. So this girl, she is super, super smart, like super intelligent. She gets 100% on the state test. And when they come back and the test scores come back, they're like, "You cheated." And she's all like, "I didn't cheat." And they're like, "Of course you cheated. Nobody else got 100%. You can't have 100% on this." And so they send her to this counselor. Well, this counselor isn't a very good counselor. He doesn't know exactly what he's doing. But she's only in there for a few seconds with him before he realizes, oh, snap, this girl's like a genius. She didn't cheat. But instead of like advocating for her and being like, oh, no, she didn't cheat. She doesn't need to come to the counselor. The first thing he does is the next time he comes in, he brings his stock portfolio and he starts asking her all these questions so that he can make money off of her intelligence. But what he didn't plan for was that she was playing the opposite game. She was trying to see if he would be able to tell if she was telling the truth or not. So she's giving him all the wrong answers while he's filling this in. But the sad part comes when he ends up having to take her home, and they find out that her parents have died. Now, this basically just devastates her. It just completely going to become a ward of the state. And so this girl that she and be like, oh, yeah, we're good friends of the family. We can watch her. But they really don't know each other. And so she goes and lives in this garage with this Vietnamese family. And she's really, really smart. So she picks up learning how to speak Vietnamese just by being around them and learning it for just a little bit. And every person that she comes in contact with, she helps, even though she's floundering herself, trying to figure out how to just live her life after this devastating event of her parents. My favorite part, though, my favorite character in here is the taxi driver. So the first time she the taxi driver, she makes him go through all the motions. She makes him pull out all of his paperwork, and so he thinks he's getting punked. He thinks they're trying to catch him and get him in trouble. But of course she's not. And then as they're driving, she sees this mole on his neck, and she's like, "That looks like a cancerous mole." Well, she can't get herself to say anything to him, so she just slips him a note, and he reads it, and he ends up going into the doctor, and so he thinks that she's this like guardian angel, and he ends up coming and picking her up a few times. But he's probably my favorite character. Okay, coming back again, just kind of more realistic fiction. We have The Secret Language of Sisters. Now, this is kind of a really good story about something that hopefully doesn't happen to you. But these two sisters, they're texting each other. The younger sister's wanting her older sister to get home, so she's texting her, "Where are you? How long are you going to be?" And she texts back, "I'll be there in 5." And then as soon as she sends that text, she gets in this terrible car accident. She's totally paralyzed. They think that she's in a coma, but really she's in what's called locked-in syndrome, where she can't move, she can't talk, but she can see and hear and understand everything that's happening around her. So the people that come in and visit her are talking to her as if she can't understand, but she can understand. She's screaming for people to know that she's awake and to help her, but nobody is. So I think something about the secret language of sisters, maybe there's something that her sister's going to be able to do for her to help her out. But it doesn't help that her sister has all of this guilt because she's the only one who knows that she was texting her at the time of the accident. And since she's hanging there at the hospital with the older sister's boyfriend, they start getting to be closer together. If you like drama, if you like kind of medical coma, like kind of afterlife or out-of-body experience kind of books, you would probably really like The Secret Language of Sisters. So that sounded pretty good to me. Here, this is kind of another one that's full of a bunch of big misunderstandings. Everything But the Truth. Her mom is in charge of this retirement home. A retirement home is where you go when you're older and you're like, I don't want to take care of a house or anything. I just want a place to stay. You can go to a retirement home. So her mom is kind of in charge of this retirement home for these really, really wealthy people. And so she meets this boy who's the grandson of one of these really wealthy people. So he comes from this super rich family. Well, her family is not very wealthy. They don't have a lot of money. And so when he gets there, they meet, he just kind of assumes, oh, you're here to visit one of your relatives. And she doesn't answer, and she never corrects him. And so he just thinks that she's coming from a lot of, no big deal, right? This could be. But when they start getting to know each other more and more, then it becomes too late to tell him what the mistake is. And what is he going to do once he finds out that she's just, from a normal working class family, and he's from this like super rich family? Everything But the Truth by Mandy Hubbard. Look for it at this year's Walnut Book Fair. So that sounds like a pretty good one if you like kind of romance. If you want something just a little bit crazy, we've got I Am Pushing the Cat. And it's kind of more like a kid's book, but it's very, very cute, very, very witty. A lot of kind of play on words kind of things, and also kind of how cats think about it. There was one that was like troubleshooting your computer, and they're like, oh, I know what you should do. You should like sleep on it. And you're like, that's totally what a cat would do. They would just sleep on a computer, and that's probably what would make everything better. So I Am Pushing the Cat. We have a couple other really good books that you might be interested in. I Am Princess X. Now this one's kind of cool because it's all about these kids making a, let's see if I can find one. They're making a graphic novel about this princess who has katana swords and all that stuff. It's these two friends that meet each other, and they come up with this like Princess X character, and they're just kind of having fun together. They drop some comics, but they never share them with anybody. But when her best friend dies, a little while later, she starts seeing signs and stickers and all this stuff about Princess X, and she's like, wait a second, that's our Princess X. How could anybody else know about this? And so then she starts thinking, well, what if her friend isn't dead? What if she's still alive somewhere? So she's got to track down who is putting up all these signs, who knows about Princess X besides her and her friend, or is it her dead friend? So if you're looking for kind of mystery books with a little bit of drama in there, that would probably satisfy your cravings. Now this one, I love it when I tell people about this book because I get to say these two words together, which is just awesome. Cyborg Cinderella. So you can see the little cyborg bones in there. So this is kind of like a take on Cinderella. Now it's not Cinderella, but it's kind of an adaptation of Cinderella. There's still a prince. She still has a stepmother. But her stepmother doesn't hate her until she blames her for her younger sister's death. But she's a mechanic. She works on robots and computers and stuff. And the prince ends up coming to ask her for help because he thinks somebody is spying on him through his robot. And so he can't, that's why her first question is like, why would you bring this to me? You're the prince. And he's all like, well, I think those people are the ones that are spying on me. So I can't have them fixing the thing that I'm working. Okay, so you get the idea. So yeah, she ends up fixing it, but then she gets drawn into this whole the whole prince thing. And probably the best part, I don't think I'm ruining anything by this, but one of the best parts that kind of fits in with Cinderella, but not quite. You know how Cinderella loses her slipper at the end? She doesn't lose her slipper, she loses her foot. She had purchased a new cyborg foot, a little an implant foot to go on there, but her stepmom took it away. Quite fit well and was kind of malfunctioning, and that's the one that falls off, and that's when people realize that she's a cyborg, and cyborgs are really looked down on. They're not looked at as normal people, and so then the prince has got to figure out what he's going to do with that. So the next book after that, after this, is Scarlet, and then it goes from Scarlet to Cress, and then we also have one in here. If you love this series, would be kind of more of like a prequel, called The Fairest, and this is the one about the Lunar Queen and kind of how she got started with being all bad, like she was bad. So again, if you're interested in Cinder and this series of books, Really, really good. Really, really romantic. But also, if you're a boy and you're not interested in romance, or if you're a girl and you're not so interested in romance, it's really, really fascinating talking about diseases, talking about robots, talking about court intrigue, and all those things about how she's going to figure out who's pulling all the strings here and how she can fight back against this evil queen that can manipulate your mind, which terrifies me. I don't want anybody else in my mind. Another couple books, Maze Runner. Now, this is kind of an older book. You might have seen the movie, but this whole idea, for those of you who like dystopian books, this is absolutely one of the best ones that there is. And especially because at the very beginning of the book, he's lost his memory. He doesn't know who he is. Well, he knows his name, but he doesn't know how he got there or anything before this. And so when he comes up to the top of the elevator and they end up pulling him out, he gets dumped into this place with these huge walls. And outside of these walls are this maze where when it's nighttime, all these creatures come out and they'll kill you. So you can only have so much time outside, and then the walls close at nighttime. And so it's called the Maze Runners because every day they send people out here running through the maze to kind of figure out to figure out how to get out. They're trying to escape. But things don't really get intense until the next, it's just a couple days later, the next person gets there. It's a girl. She's the first girl to arrive. She's kind of unconscious, but she comes with a note that says she's the last one. They're not going to get any more supplies. They're not going to get any more people. This is it. And so they've got to find a way to escape from the maze before they die. So, again, if you like the kind of mysteries where they're trying to figure out what's going on, there's dystopian, where it's just all these horrible things that are happening to these people, going up against insurmountable odds and seemingly impossible tasks, but sticking through it. And I don't know. I'd be interested to hear what you said at the end, if it was a happy ending or not, because I could see how you could see it maybe both ways. So, Maze Runner, we have that here at the book fair. We have Harry Potter, and for those of you who have read the book or seen the movie, a lot of you have seen the movie, but a lot of you have not read the book. And even though this book, the first book of Harry Potter, came out in 1995, that's a long time ago. Ask anybody who's read these. These books are some of the best fantasy adventure books that are out there. They're absolutely amazing. So if you're looking for a good fantasy adventure book and you don't have anything else and you're like, well, I kind of like the movies, you would absolutely love the books. So there is Harry Potter. This book is kind of interesting. This is called The Last Kids on Earth. So we've got kind of a zombie apocalypse going on. Only it's not just zombies; it's all sorts of other monsters. And we've got this little group of kids here they have this. Let's see, do they have a picture of the treehouse? Yeah, there's a little picture of the treehouse up there. They've got this treehouse, and it's up to them to just survive. They're the last people that they know of, and they're just trying to survive these monsters. So the kid over here, he used to be a school bully, but now he's kind of their big kind of protector guy. We've got our main character, we've got our nerd, and we've got this girl that our main character's all interested in, and she's totally not interested, which could make for some funny interaction. So not like scary zombie stuff, but kind of more funny. All the crazy situations that they get themselves into. So that is The Last Kids on Earth. If you want another Pride and Prejudice kind of rendition, Prom and Prejudice kind of uses some of the same about these two people who start off hating each other, but then they end up liking each other at the end. We have a bunch of kind of soldier kind of books. This one is it has books on both sides of them. But these are just kind of short stories about soldiers in the war. And this one would be more of like a nonfiction about how they train to become Navy SEALs, which I think is absolutely fascinating. Especially since when they came up with the training for the Navy SEALs, they're like, okay, here's what we think the human body is capable of. Let's just multiply that by 10, and then we'll have, this is where we're going to start our training. Mr. Quintana, do you want to share with us your favorite book?
I don't read.
What? I doubt that very much. I don't remember. It's over there. So go ahead. We'll have the book fair open. We'll have that open probably today, a little bit after school. We'll have it open during parent-teacher conferences, and we'll have it open on Thursday during parent-teacher conferences. Look for all these fantastic titles at your Walnut Book Fair. Keep on reading.